Today on the show, the Seahawks have a new nose tackle, and it's a name, if you're a diehard, that might seem familiar. It's a cool name, whether you recognize it or not. And as far as undrafted free agents added after camp starts go, this one is pretty intriguing. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we've talked about the youth of this roster for quite some time on this show, but ESPN chimed in today with their under 25 roster rankings. I think you're going to like what they have to say about the Seahawks. And then we'll zoom out, take a big picture snapshot of it. My projected 53-man roster, how much of it's made up of rookie contracts, just to put it all in perspective. And then some exciting news about some live shows coming up this weekend centered around the football fest that's happening at Lumen Field. This is Seahawks Forever. I'm Dan. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
If you would, please hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it if you like what I do. All the other ways you can support the channel, including other platforms, Patreon, audio, podcasts, and my new Substack are all detailed and listed and linked down below. Just a reminder that I am a full-time independent content creator, and so anything you can do is much appreciated. This would be kind of fun. So if you recall, and first of all, this is the nose tackle position is one that we've all been wringing our hands over for years, right? We've been hunting for young nose tackles in the draft over the last several years. Some of you might remember some of the draft crushes I've had over the last few years with some of the bigger dudes. In this last draft class, I really thought they would dip into that position because it was a very strong one, unusually strong when you look back over the last 5 or 6 years of guys that fit more of that traditional nose tackle role, like 320 plus. The 2023 draft, or 2024 draft, was almost barren of that type of defensive tackle. But this year, just for perspective, Daniel Jeremiah said he had 24, 25 starting interior defensive tackle grades in this class. That's about double what he normally has. Seahawks brought back Jonathan Hankins because they didn't touch that class in the draft. They did take Riley Mills, but he's more of a inside-out, versatile guy you can move around and most likely will play mostly big end, not a nose tackle. So in the meantime, last year, they had to ask Byron Murphy and Jaron Reed to do that a little bit more than we like. They did bring Jonathan Hankins back this year, but he's on his 13th season in the NFL. He's already dealing with some back issues, hasn't been at camp yet. He's taking care of that. Brandon Peely and Quentin Bohanna are two guys that have been on and off the roster over the last several years, haven't really established themselves yet. And both of them have had a little bit of difficulty proving that they can be reliable and healthy. And then they brought in Justin Rogers last week, another guy who fits that mold, 340 pounds. But when I was out there at practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he was not practicing. I don't think he was fully healthy, and so he was released today. And the team signed Thor Griffith. Do you remember that name? Undrafted rookie out of Louisville. This was one of my draft crushes going into the draft, a guy that I mocked in the 7th round because he was available in the 7th round in all of the mock draft simulators over and over and over again. The Seahawks did bring him in for their rookie tryout camp shortly after the draft. They chose not to sign him at that time. He made some other visits, worked out with some other teams. He comes back today. And the thing about Griffith is, if you think, well, it's kind of inconsequential, right? Like the chances of an undrafted guy added this late in the process probably tells us what we need to know about what the league thinks about him and about his odds of making this roster. But keep in mind, just as one example, Jalen Sundell was signed right at the beginning of camp last year. In fact, he was signed so late in the process that I was actually surprised that we saw him out there last year in the football fest, or still call it the mock game, even though they don't. Mike McDonald doesn't do game type situations like Pete Carroll did. It's just a glorified public practice. But Sundell had only been with the team less than a week at that time. You can find gems this late in the process. And he's an intriguing enough guy that even if he doesn't make the final 53, if he shows enough of an impression to make the practice squad, that does give them a little bit of young depth, something they don't really have at that position. And this guy in particular is known for playing the run and for just being a strong dude. We heard Jaron Reed the other day had to chuckle at this when he was asked to describe Byron Murphy, and he said he's strong as shit, and then he repeated it like 3 times. He goes, and he's quick, and he's technically perfect, and he's strong as shit. Thor Griffith is. Here's just a little bit of a profile from one of my favorite Twitter follows, Seahawk Nerd. Thor Griffith was one of only 11 defensive tackles to have greater than 10% career run stop and pass rush win rates since the 2018 draft. So since 2018, of all draft eligible defensive tackles, he's only one of 11 players that had a greater than 10% run stop rate and 10% pass rush win rate. So he's got a little bit of juice, right? That's, as he points out here, among guys like Quinnen Williams and Jalen Carter. Not to mention he weighed in at 320 pounds and completed 42 bench reps at his pro day. I've also seen video of him bench pressing 500 pounds. This dude is strong. Now, he played at Louisville, right? Not the highest level of competition. What's that going to look like? Don't know. Just really excited to get him in here. Can't wait to hear how he looks in practice. I'll be out there at practice Thursday morning and also Friday and at the Fan Fest on Saturday. So it'll give me 3 days in a row to see what Thor Griffith looks like. But man, if this guy can even flash as a developmental nose tackle, it would provide something that this roster simply doesn't have at the moment. Now, what this roster does have is a whole lot of young talent. And if you've watched this channel for any length of time or listened to my podcast, you know that that is something that I have been bullish on for the last couple of years. That this organization, this front office, done such a good job of drafting over the last 4 or 5 years. Just last month, if you want to go look at it, I went back and graded as a whole John Schneider's last 5 drafts. And the result of it is you can see a roster that is layered with youth at every position on the roster. A predominance of youth. This year they tried to add a little bit of veteran experience and presence to that on both sides of the ball. Cooper Kupp on one side, DeMarcus Lawrence on the other. I will look at their potential contributions and how important those signings are appearing to look so far tomorrow. So we'll talk about the young guys today, the old guys tomorrow. But ESPN every year ranks what they believe are the best rosters in the league, the best groups in the league on each roster of players 25 and under. Last year, the Seahawks finished 10th in that ranking, and I actually kind of thought that was a little bit low. But guess what? This year, they add another 11-man draft class to it. What appears to be in this first week of camp, one of the overriding storylines, to my eyes, is how good this draft class looks so far. And then they also had very few graduations or losses of some of their young guys. And so I thought what I would do is kind of show you a little bit about their process and then what they decided the result was. So this is their methodology as spelled out on ESPN.com. As is our standard, we have created these rankings based on a combination of factors. Number of starts made by players under 25 years old. So this isn't all just like projection and ceiling what a player could be. They want to have seen it on the field a little bit as well. Number of snaps played by players under 25 years old. Quality of play by players under 25 years old. Age adjusted to capture the fact that a 21-year-old player of X ability will likely improve more than a 23-year-old player of X ability. So they allow for some of that in their projections the younger a player is. Extra consideration given to Pro Bowl and All-Pro selections. The value and length of player contracts. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. The relative importance of positions, positional value, right? Quarterbacks being more important. You'll see what they say about that in regards to the Seahawks. Draft value added in the 2025 draft, particularly the first 3 rounds. Expected key starters and reserves under 25 years old for teams in 2025. And significant injuries or suspensions that will affect the 2025 availability of players under 25 years old. So they moved the Seahawks all the way up to number 2, behind the Houston Texans, the second best group of age 25 or younger players in the league. Again, they were 10th last year. They moved all the way up to 2nd this year. They refer to 3 players as blue chip players. And this has been a big topic conversation here for a couple of years. The Seahawks have had a nice roster, a lot of young talent that we like, but not enough blue chip players, not enough sure things. Last offseason, I looked at the rest of the division, and I believe the 49ers were head and shoulders above everybody else. They had what we considered to be 11 blue chip players. I think I did that episode with Jeff Simmons. And the Seahawks only had 3 or 4. The prevailing consensus, I've heard it said among some of the bigger name analysts out there, guys like Daniel Jeremiah, that 7 or 8 is kind of what you need to be a Super Bowl contender. 7 or 8 or more, obviously, blue chip players. They named 3. Devin Witherspoon, Byron Murphy, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Really encouraging, and I was happy to see them name Witherspoon and Murphy as blue chip players because they haven't really done it yet. Like, they'll talk about Witherspoon here in a second, but the ball production, he just still, to this day, has that one interception. Week 3 of his rookie season, the 92-yard pick 6 against the Giants. Not a lot of ball production. And even Byron Murphy last year, like, you know, the pass rush win rate numbers are good, and certainly the reps he put on tape are good, but I think only a sack and a half, was that the number? And, not a lot of splash plays. So good on the analysts at ESPN for recognizing that. Here's what they say. The Seahawks climb 8 spots on our list for a few reasons. First, 23-year-old Smith and Jigba had a breakout 2024 season, catching 100 passes for 1,130 yards and 6 touchdowns. Second, they drafted a young quarterback in Jalen Milroe, and even young quarterbacks from the 3rd round have value here. And third, they added a whole year of draft picks without having any important players age out of consideration for this list. Other than Smith and Jigba, the best of the Seahawks young players is 24-year-old slot cornerback Witherspoon. Interesting, they refer to him as a slot cornerback. He's going to play a lot of both this year. In his first 2 seasons, Witherspoon has recorded 177 tackles, 4 sacks, 25 passes defensed, and then just the 1 interception. The rest of the young defense includes last year's first-round pick, 22-year-old Murphy, as well as 24-year-old edge rusher Derek Hall and 21-year-old second-round rookie safety Nick Emenwari. We saw a great day yesterday in practice out of Emenwari, had the pick 6 on Jalen Milroe, had 3 pass breakups to my eye, set the edge well in the running game. He just looks better every day. The Seahawks also have more youth on offense with 24-year-old running backs Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, plus the left side of the offensive line where left tackle Charles Cross and left guard Gray Zabel are both under the age of 25. That entire offensive line is young, save for Josh Jones, who I think is 27, the veteran brought in this year on a 1-year deal. I was really happy that they gave credit here to JSN because I feel like he's still... People just are slow to buy him even after a 100-catch season. Just not showing up on enough of those offseason lists as far as I'm concerned about best wide receivers in the league, even best young wide receivers in the league. But if he goes out and does another, puts another year like that on his resume, I think he'll start showing up a lot higher on a lot of those lists. So what I did is, and this isn't complete because there's some question marks here, as you see. Did this earlier this week if you want to go back and check out my rationalizations for the 53-man roster projection. And I've made some tweaks here. I've changed some things in the last couple of days. I swapped out D'Anthony Bell for Ty Okada for some other reasons. I go into that a little bit deeper on Hawk Zone Rundown, the Bryce Coots and Ryan McMillan show. We talked about the roster as well. Go check that out. That's on my page. In yellow, you have rookie contracts. And here is what that looks like. On offense, 19 rookie deals on my projected 53-man roster. 13 rookie deals on defense. 32 of the 53 players on my projected 53-man roster are on their rookie contracts. And that doesn't even include some other younger players who are in the same age range as some of the players on rookie contracts with the Seahawks, but we either took them from other organizations like a Josh Jobe, or an Ernest Jones, who's still just 26 years old, right? Came from another organization. Now he's on his second contract. A guy like Brandon Peely, I'm not going to put in yellow because even though it's only his 4th year in the league, he spent those first couple of years with other organizations. So these in yellow, this is just guys on the rookie deal who were drafted or acquired, signed as undrafted free agents from the Seahawks. And you could see how much of it's on offense as well, how young that offense is. So, little side note, try to have a little bit of grace early in the season if there are some growing pains, because not only new scheme, new coaching staff, new quarterback, new key players at some skill positions, but also just look at the rookies. Like 19 out of the 27 players on this projection are on their rookie contract, right? And now how many are actually rookies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this fun for you? This is great, great podcast. 6, 7. Let's go 8, 9, 10. You got 10 rookies, right? So 20% of the roster made up of rookies. 60% of the roster made up of players on their rookie deal. It's encouraging, but also it's something to keep in mind, right? Young teams, there are some advantages to being young. They tend to stay healthier, but they also make more mistakes at times. They might miss an assignment. They might jump off sides, or they just might not be physically developed yet. Remember, we talked about this. I think it was Marcus Spears on his podcast with a couple other NFL players or ex-NFL players this offseason. We're talking about, they even acknowledge it, that we aren't physically, we as in, them talking about themselves, we aren't physically mature and developed until we're 25, 26 years old. And so, for those of you, we had a lot of debate yesterday about Christian Haynes and his play strength, and what if he gets beat out? Is he considered a bust? He's not. Now, he was an older player when he came out in the draft, so he's 25, 26 already. But he's only been playing with NFL players for the last year. There is a learning curve and a growth curve there that young players have to go through. But I'd rather be young and good than old and good. I think as you look ahead to the future, first of all, it gives the team a lot of financial flexibility. There's some big contract decisions coming up in the next 12 months regarding some of these young players on rookie deals. And some of you like to fret about that. We're not going to be able to sign them all. Yeah, they can. Because of the flexibility that they've baked in now as a result of a lot of their moves this offseason, they have as much financial flexibility. Don't focus so much on cap space and what OTC tells you, whatever. It's flexibility. It's when you look at next year and you see that they have 30 or they have 53, $54 million in cap space available next year. Well, they have 32 million available this year, and whatever they don't use, they can roll over. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, you get to 70, right? Well, they have, even though they don't have a lot of high-priced players and big, lucrative long-term contracts, not as much as some of the other teams that they're competing with to get into the playoffs, but that they also do have a number of levers they can pull pretty easily next year to clear more cap space in the event that they need to do some of these extensions. Again, I'll say it again. I think we're going to see fewer of those extensions handed out this year than we expected or maybe even hoped for, because first of all, they want to see it from some of these guys. They want to see it from Boye Mafe. They want to see it from Kenneth Walker. They want to see it from Charles Cross. And yeah, we saw another left tackle sign an extension, younger, at the end of his rookie deal, Bernard Raymond, just the other day, 4 years, $100 million. Just another example of what Charles Cross's market might be. And some of you I know are concerned that, like, the longer we wait, the more guys sign these extensions, the more it'll cost us. At the end of the day, the team wants to be sure. They might want to see a little bit more. And I trust Joey Lane, John Schneider, that front office, and the guys that manage the cap there to figure something out. Charles Cross wants to be here. Doesn't mean he's going to take a huge discount, but he'll work with the team on structuring a deal that works for him and the team. But all these guys that we think might be in line for big paydays, Reek Woolen's another one. I think the team feels good enough about him now that it wouldn't shock me if we find out tomorrow that he signed an extension. But have we really seen it? And do they want to see a little bit more of it before they extend him? For every player that they wait until next year to extend instead of this year, that just helps the 2026 cap even more, because usually the first year of a new deal is the lowest cap hit. So tons of flexibility. I'm not worried about their ability to re-sign any of these players at all, let alone even be able to go out and aggressively chase some other additions if they need to. So I thought that was cool. Good on ESPN. I thought it was a really good perspective on the roster, given that, for the most part this offseason, and we've discussed it here, the national media hasn't been that high on this version of the Seattle Seahawks because of some of the changes and some of the question marks and some of the unknowns. So, and speaking of question marks too, I meant to reference it when I had that projection up. I'll just throw it up there again. Outside linebacker, inside linebacker. So I think I only have 52 players listed here because I do expect that there's going to be someone added from outside the organization at one, if not both of those positions before the start of the regular season. I think certainly outside linebacker looks like one, especially if Uchenna Nwoshu's not ready to go. They might add 2 players there if somebody else doesn't step up, like a Tyreek Smith or a Connor O'Toole, and sort of grab that 5th spot. So that's why I listed it that way. I want to tell you about a couple of things before I go. This weekend, Football Fest, Saturday night, 6 o'clock, Lumen Field, right? Used to be called the mock game, but Mike McDonald doesn't do mock game situations. It's just a public practice. Although it does give the team the opportunity, and some of the younger players especially, guys that haven't been there before, to go through the routine and learn where everything are and just kind of the lay of the land and the logistics. But a new partnership I'm working on with Fast Fashion Brewing down on First Avenue in Soto, across from the Showbox, right next to classic old bar Hooverville. Big facade, can't miss it. Fast Fashion, really cool vibe in there. I love the decor and the little tasting, the little rooms you can sit in up front. They've got some games in the back, televisions. They sell pizzas that they make from scratch at the Masonry, which they also own in Lower Queen Anne, little restaurant up there. And then they have this back room in the game room. So we're going to be, and that's off of the alley behind it. So if you're tailgating before Football Fest on Saturday, that alley back there that runs perpendicular or runs parallel to First Avenue, the back of their brewery opens up to that with garage doors, so you can come check it out and see us there. So Friday, time to be determined, depends on how much time it takes us to get out of practice at the VMAC on Friday and then getting set up and troubleshoot and make sure that everything's ready to go live. I'm guessing around 6 o'clock or so on Friday night, 7 o'clock maybe at the latest, while the Mariner game's going on, big homestand with the Texas Rangers. Come down and see us. Bryce Coots and I are going to do a live show with our thoughts on practice that day. And then Saturday's the big event from 2 to 4 at, again, Fast Fashion Brewing. Just going to keep all my stuff there. Come back the next day and fire it up. We're going to be down there from 2 to 4. It's going to be me, Bryce, Brandon Kane of the Hawks Nest. He's traveling over for the event. And then a couple of very special guests are going to join us. Corbin Smith and Mookie Alexander, managing editor of Field Goal. So really excited about it. We're going to break down everything we've seen in camp so far. Just kind of take the big picture view, do a little bit of a camp preview, and look ahead to that Football Fest. So we got the Mariners going on that afternoon, and then the Seahawks at 6. So whether you're going to the Mariner game or the Seahawk practice or whatever, stop in. We'll take some live questions, say hi, try the beers, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to it. That's it for now. Again, like, share, subscribe to the channel. And if you listen on audio, leave a review, if you would, please, on Apple, iTunes, on Spotify. I think you can only leave a numerical rating 1 to 5. So if you do that, I'd appreciate it as well. In the meantime, follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Seahawks Forever. Forever and always, go Hawks. We'll see you soon, you guys.